Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. There are some really strong builds out there for solo gameplay now in the Elder Scrolls Online, and in this video we'll cover my top 5 favorite solo builds right now that are powerful enough to breeze through any solo content in the game with ease. Oh, and did I mention no trials gear necessary? Like build number 5 on this list, the Stamina Necromancer. I've been playing Stam Necro a lot this latest patch, and the thing that really works for this class in particular is being able to mix the Necro's powerful class skills and buffs with more stamina-focused weapon skills to fill in the gaps. For example, one of the best skills you can use in the game for soloing right now is the Necromancer Bone Tyrant ability called Ruinous Scythe. This skill has been upgraded in recent ESO patches and now has multiple powerful effects like applying the hemorrhaging status as well as off balance to all targets, all while giving you a strong heal back anytime you damage enemies. Using this skill, the more enemies you damage, the more healing you get back, so it's great for surviving crowds, and especially bosses with waves of adds. Now for buffs, the Necromancer also has some of the most unique and powerful skills in the game that are amazing for playing solo. You'll definitely want to use Spirit Guardian for the extra healing and damage reduction, in combination with the Beckoning Armor skill, which buffs your armor, while also pulling those annoying ranged enemies like mages and archers. Throw in a few weapon skills like we said for even more damage like Carve for the damage over time or Reverse Slice for the execute damage, and you have a simple but effective build that can even run with just one skill bar if you want. Now in terms of gear sets to use, no trials gear is needed, and basic overland sets or even crafted sets can be combined for serious effectiveness. A very simple setup is combining 2 damage focused sets like Briarheart for example, along with Order's Wrath, along with a mythic item or monster set of your choice. But don't be afraid to stack damage here, because Necromancer's healing and defensive kit is more than enough to help balance any solo build. Even a low recovery stat is fine with this setup because you have such easy access to off balance, and heavy attacking an off balance target will result in massive resources back. And if you want to see more specifics or need more help setting up your build, I'll have links in the description below to all the builds you're seeing in this video if you want some help getting started. Moving on to number 4 on our list is the Stamina Nightblade. Much like the Stam Necro, the Stamina Focused Nightblade is especially powerful for solo gameplay right now due to their ability to combine a variety of stamina-based weapon skills for damage along with the Nightblade's strong offensive and healing toolkit. And there are tons of options out there, but the base of the Stamina Nightblade build is always their strong melee DPS skill called Surprise Attack, which comes from the Shadow skill line. You can combine this with their offensive ultimate Incapacitating Strike from the Assassination skill line, because hitting this will result in 20% bonus damage against a target for 6 seconds. Timing here is the most important thing. Make sure to have all of your dots applied, hit that Incap Strike, then spam Surprise Attack for huge damage. Now you also want to slot Merciless Resolve, also from the Assassination skill line, which costs Magicka to cast, but actually does more damage and better healing than the Stamina Morph. Then make sure to use either Killer's Blade for single targets or Reverse Slice from the two-handed skill line for additional splash damage when enemies are in execute range. Now all of these skills in combination create an insanely powerful solo build, but my secret for solo content on the Nightblade is also to use the siphoning skill called Swallow Soul for a powerful heal over time effect. Now you only need to cast this skill once every 10 seconds for a ton of passive self-healing, which will greatly increase your survivability. Now in terms of sets on the Stamina Nightblade, I'll have a link in the description for my solo brawler build, which focuses on damage shield sets, and running damage shields like this on the Stamina Nightblade works really well because it lets you focus completely on your damage and perfecting your rotation while also just letting your passive healing, as we talked about, easily keep you alive through more difficult content. Now the best shield set you'll definitely want to pick up if you don't have it already is going to be Hexos Ward. This comes from the Deadlands DLC. This set is also tradable, so even if you don't have the Deadlands zone, you can still buy this set from guild traders. And other damage shield sets you might consider adding to this build include things like the Prayer Shawl set, which has a smaller shield size but only a 2-second cooldown, or the Parabellum set from the Maelstrom Arena, another great damage shield set. Combining these with a mythic item like the Oakensoul Ring for ease of rotation, or a monster set like Iceheart for even more damage shields, and you are good to go for soloing any content in the game. Number 3 on our list of solo builds is the Dragon Knight. Now, I'm not going to specify either stamina or magicka here as the main focus of this build, because either way you go with the Dragon Knight, you're going to be amazing no matter what. Just pick your preference for weapons and attributes, or mix and match skills if you prefer for a full-on hybrid setup. DKs can do pretty much anything. Now, one approach I do like for Dragon Knights, which is simple and effective, is to use a heavy attack build. Now, this is easier on DKs than most classes due to their Molten Armament skill from the Earthen Heart skill line. Not only does the skill buff your weapon and spell damage and give you great passive bonuses, but it's also one of the best sources of the Empower buff in the game, which increases your heavy attack damage against monsters by a whopping 80%. Now, you need this buff on any heavy attack focused build, period. And you can do this on the Magicka Dragon Knight using a Lightning Staff, or on the Stamina Dragon Knight using a two-hander if you prefer. Now, other damage sources you'll want to add to your build include Noxious Breath, which is an AoE dot that also debuffs enemy armor, as well as Burning Embers, which is a powerful single target dot that also heals you back for a percentage of the damage done. And keep in mind you can cast this skill on multiple enemies to stack the healing. Speaking of healing, Dragon Knights are very effective at self-healing with skills like Cauterize that provides a strong heal every 5 seconds, or the area-based healing skill Cinderstorm. And Dragon Knights also have a great option for sustain, especially if you focus on either poison or fire damage, as inflicting these poison and burning status effects restores stamina and magicka back respectively. And also don't forget that using an ultimate restores all 3 resources based on the ultimate's cost. That's thanks to the Battle Roar passive, so be sure to time your ultimates to fire off when your resources are getting low for maximum efficiency. And in terms of gear sets on the solo Dragon Knight build, this can vary obviously depending on your approach. Now, for a heavy attack build, sets like Sergeant's Mail and Noble Duelist are great options, as these provide a massive increase to your already buffed heavy attack damage. And this paired with a proc set like Pillar of Nirn can give you a huge DPS boost that will help you complete solo content more quickly, or if you want more time to learn mechanics, then the previously mentioned Hexos Ward can help keep you alive through almost anything, giving you more time to survive and learn your build. And as always, I have links for more solo build options in the description that can give you a great idea of where to start, so be sure to check those out if you are interested. Number 2 on our list of the best solo builds in ESO is one of my favorites, the Magicka Templar. And even though Templars have seen some nerfs lately, especially in terms of damage, their raw healing output and defensive potential is still top tier, which makes them a great choice for any content in the game, and especially for beginners. Let's start with the bread and butter DPS skill on Magicka Templar, which is Puncturing Sweep. As mentioned, this skill does not do as much damage as it has in the past. It also has a new look and feel, which can take some time getting used to if you played the Templar before, but it still remains one of, if not the best, damage skills for solo builds in ESO due to its passives and its strong healing. There are also some sets available which will buff the damage greatly, which in turn buffs the healing as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. The Templars are also masters of AoE damage, so consider combining Sweep with some ground-based or AoE skills like Blazing Spear from the Adrix skill line, or Solar Barrage from the Dawn's Wrath skill line. And Solar Barrage, by the way, since it is a Dawn's Wrath skill, will proc the Illuminate passive, which gives your build 10% extra spell damage, so make sure to keep this active as much as possible. Templars also have great defensive options as well, like the burst heal Honor the Dead, and my personal favorite heal Living Dark. This skill now has a much longer duration, making it a great option for a solo buff that heals you back every time you take damage. Now remember to also keep up your channeled focus skill for the extra armor, healing, and sustain, and use your execute ability when enemies are low health. My preferred morph here for the execute is Radiant Glory, because it heals you back much like Puncturing Sweep. In terms of sets, I almost always recommend the Deadly Strike set for any solo Templar build. This is because Deadly Strike buffs your channeled skills and dots, which make up the majority of the Templar kit, including Puncturing Sweep and Radiant Glory and many of our dots. And like I said, especially with his healing skills, the more damage you do, the more healing you get back. So it's always an easy way to go for solo content. Plus, on the Magicka Templar, you'll always want to take advantage of the class's extra critical damage passive called Piercing Spear by maximizing your critical chance with sets like Mother Sorrow, or my new personal favorite critical chance and critical damage set called Order's Wrath. Any combination of these sets will be extremely powerful for solo content, And as before, you can check several different options to help you get started down in the description below. So what is the #1 best class for solo content in ESO right now? Well, as with anything, this is somewhat subjective and based on personal experience, but my default build for soloing, and what I always recommend, especially to new players, is the Magicka Sorcerer. Now, there are several ways you can play the Mag Sorc to be effective in solo content, including a pet-focused build, focusing more on raw damage, or playing defensive and being more shield-focused, but my favorite playstyle is the ultra-easy heavy attack Mag Sorc. This build can be played with as little as 1 skill bar, using just a few active skills, but is extremely powerful for solo gameplay. And that's because the lightning staff heavy attacks are pretty much the best basic attack in the game right now, as they deal 100% splash damage, making it the perfect choice for killing large groups of enemies very quickly. Now, in terms of skills, sorcerers have almost something for every situation. Do you need self-healing? Sorcerers have Crit Surge, which heals them automatically every second as long as they do critical damage. Need some more defense? Sorcerers have literally the best damage shield in the game, this skill called Hardened Ward. Plus, they also have great mobility with skills like Streak to help you escape otherwise impossible boss mechanics. Need damage? Summon your pets and have them deal damage for you to the surrounding enemies basically automatically. So skills like these combined with infinite sustain from doing heavy attack damage makes for the easiest solo setup in the game currently, which is why this class still sits at #1 for this list. Now, in terms of sets, much like the Dragonknight, you may want to consider a combination of heavy attack sets like Sergeant's Mail, Noble Duelist, or Stormmaster, and others to maximize your damage. But unlike the Dragonknight, sorcerers do not have a version of the Empower buff, so using something like the Oakensoul Ring Mythic will be especially useful for builds like this to maximize your buffs. And finally, make sure to also look into sets that buff your critical chance. For example, Mother Sorrow, because critical strikes are how you can easily heal on the Mag Sorc using the critical surge skill we mentioned earlier. But as I said, links for more build ideas if you need help getting started can be found just below that like button in the description underneath the video. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then consider joining our channel membership right here on YouTube, where we create even more unique and off-meta solo builds in our members-only video library. Members in our Elite Squad, which is our Tier 2 channel membership, get new video updates every month, including many builds seen in this video. Plus, we have early access to videos, members-only Discord, and much, much more. Huge shout out to all of our channel members that make this channel possible. You all are amazing. Thanks to all of you for watching this video, and I'll see you around in the next one.